Welcome back to the Explainer. So, if you are aiming for a degree in the UK, you've probably hit that massive wall of data, right? Entry requirements, confusing university rules, it's a lot. Today, we're taking this incredibly dense document called the UK Ready Reckoner, specifically the 2026 intake update, and we're completely demystifying it. You know the one, that heavy, bureaucratic PDF that's practically a cure for insomnia? Well, we're turning it into your ultimate actionable cheat sheet. I am so excited to guide you through this because by the time we're done here, you are going to have a crystal clear path to your UK study goals. Okay, let's dive into this. We're breaking your student journey down into 5 super manageable chapters today. First up, the UK Advantage. Then, Meeting the Mark, where we'll tackle those academics. After that, we'll explore alternative routes, tackle the tricky topic of navigating education gaps, and finally, look at your long-term ROI with post-study work visas. But before we get totally lost in the hard numbers, just take a second to imagine this contrast. You've got the ancient, mysterious stones of Stonehenge on one hand, and the incredibly vibrant, modern pulse of the London Eye and Tower Bridge on the other. Studying in the UK is about so much more than what happens inside a classroom. It's about literally immersing yourself in a place that effortlessly blends centuries of history with cutting-edge innovation. This is the backdrop to your future. It really sets an inspiring scene for the academic journey we're about to map out together. So, let's kick things off with Section 1, the UK Advantage, Prestige and Lifestyle. Why, out of everywhere in the world, should the UK be your top-tier destination? The numbers here are just absolutely wild. Look at the 2026 QS World University Rankings. An incredible 17 of the world's top 100 universities are sitting right there in the UK. 17. But, it isn't just about the prestige. It's about efficiency. The UK is famous for these short, super flexible courses. We're talking about finishing a master's degree in just 1 year instead of the usual 2. And think about what that means. That's a massive financial game changer that literally cuts your tuition and living costs right in half. Plus, it gets you out into the workforce a full year ahead of the competition. Add in the world-leading research, this amazing student experience where you're meeting people from all over the planet, and a really solid post-graduation work permit, it is basically the perfect recipe for jumpstarting your career. Moving right along to Section 2, Meeting the Mark, Translating Your Grades. The dream is clear, but now we've got to pivot to the crucial question every student asks. Do my grades actually fit? Now, what's really interesting here is the deep nuance in how the UK views different grading systems. Say you're looking at a top-tier course, right? And it asks for A-star AA at the A level. You might be sitting there thinking, okay, but what does it actually mean for me? Well, if you're under the ICSE or CBSE boards, you're going to need about a 90%. But check this out. If you're from the West Bengal board, which is notoriously strict with its grading, the UK system actually recognizes that rigor. They drop that exact same A-star AA requirement down to an 80%. This is exactly why knowing your specific equivalency is so incredibly empowering. You can pinpoint your exact bracket and know precisely where you stand. Oh, and a quick heads up. For most of these direct entry courses, they're also going to want to see at least a 60%, or grade C, in your 10th grade math and English. Okay, so what if you're applying for a postgraduate course? The UK uses a totally different classification system here. A 2-1, which they call an upper second class degree, translates to about a 60 or 65% in your local undergrad degree. A 2-2 sits around that 55 to 60% mark. And if a university is asking for a first-class degree, they generally want to see a 65 or 70% from your home university. Honestly, wrapping your head around what a 2-1 means is absolutely crucial. Why? Because that grade is pretty much the standard cutoff for the vast majority of corporate graduate schemes over in the UK. Hitting that 60 to 65% mark back home is literally your golden ticket to top-tier jobs over there. It's just a simple decoding trick that instantly tells you which master's programs you should be aiming for. All right, Chapter 3, Alternative Routes, Pathways to Your Dream. But what if you realize your numbers are a bit lower than those golden tickets? Seriously, do not panic. I want to offer a bit of a reassuring and honestly, pretty surprising pivot right here. You might think a 50% score completely locks you out of the UK. No way. There is some incredible, kind of hidden flexibility baked right into the system. Get this. Highly respected places like Anglia-Ruskin University, Bangor University, and Middlesex University will actually offer you direct entry into their programs with just a 50% in your undergrad degree. And they aren't the only ones. There are over a dozen universities with this exact same flexibility. It just goes to show there's absolutely a place for you if you just know where to look. And look, even if direct entry feels completely off the table for you right now, you still have amazing options. Let's talk about pathway programs. Think of these as brilliant little academic stepping stones. Say you only scored between 40 and 50% in your 10th grade. Well, you can enter a foundation program. Or if you scored between 50 and 60% in your 12th grade, you could actually qualify for an international year one. These pathways are specifically built to help you level up your academic skills right there on the university campus, so you can seamlessly transition into your main degree as soon as you're fully ready. It is a total game changer. Moving on to Section 4, Navigating Education Gaps. It's time to unveil some of that flexibility we were just talking about. Okay, we need to address the elephant in the room. I know this is a massive source of stress for so many of you. Maybe you took a few years off to work, maybe you were caring for a family member, or honestly, maybe you just needed time to figure out your life path. And now you're sitting there asking, what if I have an education gap? Are universities just going to instantly reject me? And this brilliantly illustrates why the answer to that is a resounding no. But it does completely depend on the institution, which is exactly why you have to shop around. Take universities like Brunel or Goldsmiths. They have absolutely zero restrictions on education gaps. None, for both undergrad and postgrad. Abertay is another one that's super accommodating. They allow a 6 to 7 year gap for undergrads and literally have no limit for postgrads. But you do have to navigate this carefully. There are definitely stricter spots, like Swansea, which won't accept gaps at all, or West London, which is super strict for undergrads, but gives you up to 5 years for postgrads. So you see, a rejection from one single university is never, ever a rejection from the UK as a whole. It's all about finding the right fit for your unique timeline. Now, here is the absolute crucial caveat. While the system is wonderfully accommodating, you can't just hand them a completely blank, unexplained space on your timeline. That gap has to be clearly justified. You really need to tell your story in your CV and your statement of purpose. And most importantly, you've got to bring the receipts. You need to provide evidence, things like employment letters or professional certificates, right at the very start of your application. Remember, an education gap is not a flaw. It can actually be framed as vital life experience and maturity. If you own your narrative and you back it up, that time away from the classroom is not going to hold you back for a second. And finally, we've made it to Chapter 5, Post-Study Work Visas, your long-term ROI. We're looking way past the classroom now. This next part is the ultimate payoff. After you've poured your time, your money, and your energy into a UK education, the UK actually wants you to stick around and contribute to their economy. For standard undergrads and postgrads, you get a massive 18 months of a post-study work visa to just go out there and launch your career on a global stage. And if you're doing a PhD or a doctorate, no way. The UK hands you an incredible 36 months. That is 3 full years to work, build your network, and really establish yourself. And you know what makes this so uniquely powerful? These visas do not require corporate sponsorship. It's true. That gives you total unrestricted freedom to navigate the UK job market and find the absolute perfect role for you. So this isn't just an education we're talking about. It is a literal launchpad for your global career. So there you have it. We've translated the grades, we've uncovered those hidden pathways, busted some serious myths around education gaps, and mapped out your post-graduation future. The data in that Ready Reckoner isn't some terrifying obstacle course anymore, right? It's an open map of just incredible possibilities. Your roadmap is officially ready to go. So take a hard look at your grades, fully own your personal story, and ask yourself, which UK city are you going to be calling home next year? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.